Last week we heard that Donald Trump might lose his beloved Trump Tower, but a reduced deal has seen the former president's business empire saved, at least for now. Welcome to the show, Katie.
Hi, Ed. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure. Tell us about, he's done a bond deal, just
Yes.
$175 million this time.
Trump has bought himself much needed time with this deal. So, a couple of weeks ago, he was looking in big trouble. He was facing the much bigger bond of 475 million, and he was basically struggling to find the cash. I mean, he couldn't do it. And then he got this reprieve, which is cutting it down to 175. I mean, that's to say, the higher fine still exists. I mean, he still faces that if he loses his appeal, but this allows him the time to raise that money and basically delays things so he can get his finances in order.
And there's the Stormy Daniels trial coming up, which I've rather kept my eye off the ball because it's a criminal trial. It's about him channeling the hush money payments through his companies, I think. Is it quite serious? Because I've been much more focused on the sort of fraud trials to do with his companies and the election fraud. But this one is one that's sort of been bubbling under and won't go away.
It's interesting because I think when we were looking at Trump's cases at the beginning of this, you were right. This didn't seem like it was the big one to watch. But what Trump's kind of team have managed to do is delay the other trials so much that we're looking at a situation now where this could be the only trial that really kind of gets held and resolved before, the election. So it's coming more into the focus from that. And, it's an embarrassing trial for Trump. We're going to have Stormy Daniels talking about their affair in the dock. Michael Cohen, his former fixer, is likely to speak out against him. And these are strong personalities who say what they think, who are going to be looking Trump in the eye in the courtroom from the 15th of April. So I think it's going to be one full of fireworks.
Talking about fireworks, I mean, it's extraordinary. He's had a go at the daughter of one of the judges on social media. What's he done? Because it's brought him another gagging order.
Yes, exactly. So he was under a week-long gagging order for the fact that he kept attacking various members of the court. But he decided to double down and go after the judge's daughter. His daughter is a Democrat political consultant, Judge Mercan's daughter, and we know this, but Trump is now using this to say that this is a political witch hunt. The trial is political, and he's been naming her on Truth Social, which has obviously led to kind of threats against the judge and his family. And the judge has ordered kind of no more. There won't be these kind of attacks any further. He can still attack the judge. He can still attack the AG. He has a First Amendment right to that. But he can't go after these people who are kind of lesser players or not involved in the trial at all.
Oh, so you have a First Amendment right to attack your judge? I didn't know
Yes.
that. That's good. I love America. So these latest set of US primaries, I mean, they're a slight waste of time, aren't they? Biden and Trump are through. So what is actually at stake? It's Wisconsin, Connecticut, New York, and Rhode Island.
Yes. So a handful of primaries tonight, and you're right. I mean, this is decided. We know who the candidates are. This is all done and dusted. But the system goes on, and obviously the system was devised with much tighter contests in mind. I mean, if we think back of, even the race just with Clinton and Obama not that long ago, every vote counted in the primary system. That's not the case this time around, but states will still get a chance to vote. I mean, what is interesting is that what has emerged this primary year is that people are using the primary system as a protest vote. So opponents to the invasion of Gaza are urging people to kind of write uncommitted or leave a blank space on their ballot papers. And this, is really hurting Biden. It's maybe not large numbers of people, but reputationally, it won't allow him to move away from this issue that's become, through no fault of his own, part of his campaign.
I hadn't appreciated that. It's prompted me to say what's happened to the kind of fringe candidates like Robert Kennedy, who seem to sort of keep popping up on my social media, but I don't know how serious they are.
So Robert Kennedy is running as an independent now. So he's no longer, at one point he was going to run against Biden in the primary system, but he's now changed lanes. So he's now running as an independent. So is not part of this primary system, as the primary system decides the kind of candidates for the party rather than, who will win between them. So we now have a situation where we know it's Biden and Trump. That's been decided.
Democrats and Republicans in the states of Wisconsin, Connecticut, New York, Rhode Island are voting in primaries to choose their party's nominees. There are several names on both parties' ballots, as you could imagine, but neither Joe Biden or Donald Trump are really facing any major challenges. Meanwhile, though, quite a lot is going on in terms of Donald Trump's legal challenges and his bank balance. He posted a $175 million bond in his New York civil fraud case. So there's lots of cases going on at the same time. But that means the state's attorney general can't freeze his bank accounts or take away any property. Let's get the latest. US political correspondent Liz Landers is here. Liz, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
So just tell us what's happened. When I use the phrase posted bond, this is $175 million. What's Donald Trump actually done and therefore avoided?
Right. So that was for the case that Donald Trump had been charged by the Attorney General in New York, Letitia James, for inflating the value of his assets, notably Trump Tower and a number of other real estate properties that he owns. And she basically alleged, and the judge agreed with her in that case, that he had overinflated those assets, and then he'd avoided a bunch of taxes, and he'd potentially defrauded banks out of money. So he had been fined heavily, like $430 million, and he had to put up, initially it was a much larger, about half of that amount. He was initially required to pay. The judge then reconsidered that amount down to this $175 million, which he did post yesterday in the evening. So now he does not have to worry about his assets being seized for the moment by the Attorney General of New York.
I mean, presumably it would have been very humiliating to have his sort of real estate assets like Trump Tower being taken away. The question is, all these financial things adding up, how can he afford to fight and continue fighting all of these cases?
It's a major question, and it's a question that reporters are asking, and reporters are very carefully looking through a lot of these federal election filing reports that all candidates are required to file, and people are really poring over carefully Donald Trump's right now. I mean, the short answer to your question is that he is able to use some of the money that he is fundraising in different campaign capacities to pay for his legal bills. So if you are a donor giving money right now to a Trump campaign account, there is a chance that your money is being used not to fuel the campaign, not to do door knocking or open offices in key campaign states like Wisconsin, which is a state that's voting today. No, your money may be used to be paying for Donald Trump's legal bills in the myriad different trials and some of these civil fraud cases that he's facing.
I guess, though, his legal trials are part of his campaign, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he is going to face criminal trial very soon here in April in New York in a separate case, which is the hush money payment case. And there's a chance, I was sort of listening to some legal commentators talk about this last night. There's a chance that he might have to be there in the courtroom 4 days a week. The judge has indicated that he wants to see the former president in the courtroom. And former President Trump may testify in that case. This is the Stormy Daniels case that Alvin Bragg brought about a year ago, where the former president had paid off that former adult actress because he had a relationship with her while he was married, and his wife was pregnant at the time. So he had paid her to make the story basically go away. That is now going to trial soon, and he may be in a New York courtroom more often than he is out on the campaign trail this spring.
And so I'm sure he'll use the court as a place for campaigning, as he has done so
Absolutely.
many times.
Yeah,
we know that the primaries are today taking place in Connecticut, New York, Rhode Island, Wisconsin. I mean, it's pretty much a done deal, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think most political reporters and the Trump and Biden campaigns are really sort of in general election mode at this point. I think that both Biden and Trump locked up their official nominations and got the delegate counts that they need for their respective parties to be the nominee a few weeks ago. So they are both campaigning against one another and not against, a Democratic or a Republican primary candidate. I mean, there are still challengers to Biden. Marianne Williamson is still technically in the race. She dropped out. She got back in. It's been kind of confusing. And then there's the independent candidate, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who could pose a potential threat to Trump or Biden. But it's really these two men who are on the top of the ticket at this point. So these races are not being super closely watched, these primaries.
Final thing, Liz, we've been talking about Donald Trump's potential income streams. I mean, my eyes sort of really opened at this. He's launched his own version of the Bible. It's called the God Bless the USA Bible.
Yes.
What is this about?
Yeah, so he started posting about this and kind of hawking it to his followers last week ahead of the Easter holidays here in the U.S. And he teamed up with a famous country music singer here in the United States, and they are selling a Trump version of the Bible, and it's $60, which is quite a lot of money for a Bible.
With some extra content, I believe, inside.
Yes, there's extra content in there, some songs and some of this Lee Greenwood country music is in there too. And it's kind of a head scratcher for people because Donald Trump has been asked over the years about basically Christianity in general, and can he talk about his favorite parts of the Bible? And he has very delicately danced around that, and he has confused parts of the Bible. And he was asked if he's an Old Testament or a New Testament guy, and he said that he was both. He's not a particularly Christian person from what we understand, and he's selling these Bibles. But I do think that there are a lot of evangelical voters that Trump has a very firm hold of, who still really relate to him, and I'm sure he is selling these Bibles and that he's fundraising off of it.